Now, in 1922, there's going to be a famous case involving a Japanese man by the name of Takao Ozawa and his ineligibility as a citizen based on grounds that Asians were not considered white. Takao Ozawa filed for citizenship to the United States of America under the consideration of the 1906 naturalization law, which allowed the naturalization of white persons and persons of African descent. Now, even though there were racial restrictions on Asians, Takao Ozawa tried desperately to have the Japanese classified as being white in order to avoid all the restrictions that were placed on Asians. So Takao Ozawa versus the United States was a case in which the United States Supreme Court found Takao Ozawa ineligible for naturalization because he was Japanese. Takao Ozawa did not challenge the constitutionality of the racial restrictions. Instead, Takao Ozawa attempted to have the Japanese classified as white. But Justice George Sutherland found that only Caucasians were white. And therefore, the Japanese, by not being Caucasian, were not white, and instead were members of an inassimilable race lacking provisions in any naturalization act. Let's go to a film clip on Takao Ozawa's application.
What of the other so-called Asiatic races? Filipinos, Syrians, the Japanese. Could they also petition successfully to be designated white by the courts and thus become Americans? In 1922, when Japanese businessman Takao Ozawa petitioned the Supreme Court for naturalization, many in the Japanese community believed his was the perfect test case.
Takao Ozawa came from Japan, went to the University of California at Berkeley for a few years, then moved to Hawaii where he had a family, and he applied to become a naturalized citizen in 1915.
My father wrote his own brief and everything, and he was really devoted. He wanted to become an American citizen, and nothing would stop him. He was determined.
Japanese growers in California watched Ozawa's case closely. By 1920, a series of alien land acts prohibited many non-citizens from owning or leasing land. Without a legal designation of whiteness to make them citizens, Japanese immigrants could not have the full protection of American law, no matter how long they lived in the country. In his brief, Ozawa argued that his skin was as white as any so-called Caucasian, if not whiter, but he made a much more important second argument.
But a second argument was that race shouldn't matter for citizenship. What really mattered was a person's beliefs.
My honesty and industriousness are well known among my Japanese and American friends. In name, Benedict Arnold was an American, but at heart he was a traitor. In name, I am not an American, but at heart, I am a true American.
The articles would come out in the paper. I thought, oh, what did he do? You know, I thought only bad things came out in the paper, and I was kind of ashamed, you know, when I was a child. And it was just the way we were brought up. I didn't have any Oriental friends. My neighbors were all Caucasian, and so he was so determined to get us, well, when the time came to be American citizens.
The Supreme Court ruled that Ozawa could not be a citizen. They said he was not white within the meaning of the statute and therefore not eligible to citizenship. And the court said, well, he's not white because he's not Caucasian, and Caucasians are whites. He did everything right. He learned English. He had a lifestyle that was American. He went to Christian church on Sunday. He dressed as a Westerner. He brought up his children as Americans. He did everything he was supposed to do, and yet he's told that he can't be a citizen because he's not white.
The court ruled that according to the best-known science, Ozawa was not Caucasian, but of the Mongolian race. But the
All right, it doesn't matter if you want, again, it doesn't matter. I shared with you when I did my green bean presentation that you can assimilate. There are those who want to assimilate, but even when you assimilate, it doesn't matter. You're still, well, in this particular case, he's not white.